Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I think we have an extra chair, but that's okay. We'll save it for Elijah. My name is Jenelle Riley. I'm an editor at Variety. So thrilled to be here with you for this Q&A with one of the funniest casts on television, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. At this time, please join me in welcoming some of the actors who make up this ensemble. I want to start with an actor who has starred in everything from Everybody Hates Chris to Idiocracy. He can currently be seen hosting America's Got Talent. Please welcome Terry Crews. A fantastic actress who plays Amy Santiago on the series. She also directed one of my favorite episodes of the season, Return of the King. Please welcome Melissa Fumero. He is a scene stealer you might remember from the comedy troupe The State, or shows such as Reno 9-1 and films like I Love You, Ma'am. Please welcome Jolo Truglio. An actor you've seen in Shortcuts and many John Carpenter films, including Starman and Prince of Darkness. Please welcome Dirk Braugher. The actor who is in many ways his better half. He's appeared, of course, on Big Love and American Horror Story, Asylum. Please welcome Joel McKinnon Miller. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I think you two will always be linked together from this moment on.
Especially given their unplanned facial hair. Matching.
Sexy.
Mine's a merkin. It's not.
What'd be really funny is if you had a flat top under that. Oh, okay.
Not enough up there for a flat top, I'm afraid.
Not going that far. Thank you guys so much for being here. Congratulations on another great season. This is an audience entirely of SAG actors. So, yeah. I always like to start by asking, how did you get your SAG card?
I was Taft-Hartley'd in, which was really cool. I guess I don't know. It was weird because I got my first movie audition I ever went on. The casting agent was like, "Hey, you're pretty good." I was like, "Oh, okay." Like I thought that's what they told everybody, you know.
Yeah.
And then I literally came back. I got a call back, and they said you got the job, and I was like, "What?" And it was a Schwarzenegger movie called The Sixth Day. And I thought I was gonna get killed, and you just like, I'm gonna be 2 days, honey. I got 2 days, and they're gonna kill me, and Schwarzenegger's gonna kill me, of course, and it's gonna be great. And it turned out it was a major role.
Yes, it was.
I was in Vancouver for like 5 months, and it was a dream come true. Then I was like, I gotta find out how to act. I swear, Michael Rooker would show me how to stand. Michael Rooker is a quintessential superstar. And he was my co-star, and he was just like, Terry, okay, when I leave, I want you to walk in and take my spot. And he literally was teaching me all the beats as we go. And I that's how I got my SAG card.
That is so sweet. On your very first audition?
Very first movie audition.
Movie audition, okay.
That was it.
Okay.
First movie I ever did.
That's still pretty impressive, and everyone here is very angry.
No, I got rejected a lot after that. I spent 3 years. I lost my house like 3 years later. So
okay,
just to keep it all even for you. I swear, it's like, there we go. Awesome, hell. There we go, right in the middle.
Ups and downs.
I got my SAG card on a Verizon commercial.
Ooh.
It was a holiday spot. I was very excited about it until I found out it was only going to run for one cycle because it was a Christmas commercial. But then a couple months after that, I actually got my AFTRA card on One Life to Live on a soap opera.
Yay!
So they kind of followed each other pretty closely.
I also got my SAG from a commercial, SAG card from a commercial, a Wiener Schnitzel. commercial, where I was able to use my first spit bucket. That was exciting. And yeah, it was a tough first job because the hot dogs weren't really that good, and I was eating a lot of them. But yeah, that's and then with AFTRA, I think I got my AFTRA card when the state did a very short-lived special on CBS. I joined AFTRA, so that was back in '95.
Oh, and technically CBS never canceled you guys.
Technically,
I heard.
no.
So yeah.
So well, they did. They didn't cancel us. They just never really picked up the show because we were supposed to do a special. We did this Halloween special, and they're like, after you do this special, we're going to give you a lot of shows. Don't worry about the ratings. First lesson, worry about the ratings.
How many people here are old enough to remember Marcus Welby, MD?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm surprised. My first job was as a jock. I was 17 years old at the time, and I played a jock, the high school big man on campus who was afraid to get a shot. That's the gig. That's the joke. So I'm sitting there with James Brolin, and he's like, we're rehearsing, and he's holding my arm like this, and I was scared shitless, and my heart and my arm was pounding. And he said, just before we shot, he said, "We better get this on one take. This fucker's about to have a heart attack."
And did you?
I didn't have a heart attack, but I got it on one take.
Okay, great.
I got my SAG card. I was doing a Miller Lite commercial in New York, and it was for like a movie. It was like, I don't know, Caddyshack on Ice. I don't know, something like that.
I'd see it.
And we were, it was a group of us. We were like critics, in the theater, but we were all just, kind of guys, just hanging out, giving our opinions. And my only line was a sensitive and moving drama. And then you see somebody get the hell beat out of them on the ice, and then it goes to the next guy. And that was my. That's when I got my SAG card.
You got to play a critic. Critics must love you.
Yes.
Yes. Whenever you play a critic, they end up liking you for the rest of your career.
That's the trick.
It was like Melissa's. It ran till the movie opened, and it was horrible and never to be seen again.
Melissa, did you work with the "Can You Hear Me Now" guy, or was this?
I did.
I did. Really?
Yeah. I met him, and I remember boldly being like, "So you don't ever have to work again, right?" That was like my first question out the gate.
Nice.
But apparently he does.
Yes.
And then the other funny thing about that commercial was Leah Michele was also shooting the same spot for Spanish television.
Really?
I was shooting it for American.
Wait.
And I was like, and we were sitting at the table, and she was like a senior in high school, and so her mom was there, and I was at NYU at the time, so they were asking me a lot of questions about NYU because she was planning to go there, and I was like, wait, you're doing this for the Spanish market, and I'm doing it for the okay. But it was because dark hair, big lips, like she fit the stereotype more than I did. Yeah, so I was like,
hilarious.
that's funny. very innocently being like, oh, the biz. This is what not knowing that would be the next like years. Yeah. Being like, no, I swear I'm Cuban.
Wow.
Well, I want to congratulate you guys on a fabulous season. This was your 6th season, but your first on NBC. And I'm kind of curious, how do you think your characters have grown over the years, or have they?
I'll jump in. I think I'm really Boyle. I think has grown a lot because in the early seasons, his obsession with Rosa, I think was borderline. Was stalking and wasn't. Not. I wouldn't say inappropriate, but I think I was happy to see that addressed in later seasons, where he was able to see that he could have a friendship with a female coworker without being a weirdo and respecting like her decisions. So it was nice to see Boyle become an entrusted companion or friend of Rosa's, especially with when Rosa does come out as being bisexual, and Boyle being the first person in the squad that she tells. I think that was a nice little kind of arc.
I literally thought you were going to say Boyle being obsessed with Jake, but that hasn't changed.
I was going to say
That will never change.
I was going to say you're still a weirdo.
I'm still a weirdo. Yeah.
That level's been pretty steady. I think Amy's grown a lot. I think all of her natural inclinations are still there, but she's not as tied down by them as she was in season 1 and season 2. And I think especially since being in a relationship with Jake, it's been fun to watch her just like cut loose more. Like sometimes we'll do episodes where she's involved in, whether it be like, you know, roller chair derby or, you know, like the full bullpen slide. And season 1, I remember we had a similar joke in the pilot where it was like, Jake and Rosa with the fire extinguishers in the chairs. Yeah. And I was originally supposed to be in that scene. And I was like, I don't think Amy would be, I didn't say that she shouldn't be there, but I was like, I shouldn't be happy during this. This goes against like everything I stand for. And they were like, oh, right. Actually, you're not gonna be here. You're gonna go off and do something else. And so every time she's kind of around and participating in those pranks, I'm like, oh, look how far you've come, girl.
I've never heard of an actor being asked to be written out of a scene.
Well, yeah, I couldn't make it work. Yeah. I was like, if I'm here, I just want you guys to know I'm going to be miserable. There's no world I think where she would enjoy this. Mm-hmm. And so then they were like, but then that would have been weird to have like one person with, you know, be like, so they were like, yeah, go. And I was like, yeah, she's on the street. She's working a case. Bye.
Well, for me, one thing I love about the show is that every episode changes the world a little bit. Mm-hmm. You can actually, by watching each episode, or if you just jump into one, you'll know where we are in the course of the 6 years. You know, it's kind of like, oh, Chelsea's like that then. You know what I mean? I remember when that was the big shocker when you two got together, when you and Chelsea, the characters got together. You could see there was like before that and then after that. And all the brother-sister jokes were like, it was really bad. But it was hilarious at the same time. And you go, oh my God, like this world is changing. And I love the way everyone still is going for a goal. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you know, I am trying to be a sergeant and, you know, trying to make my way. And you know, I had kids since then, more kids since then. And, you know, it's just everyone's still goal oriented. Everybody wants something. And when I was growing up, TV, nobody wanted. It was like we were not going to change anything, you know, and everything just stayed the same because they wanted to be able to slip any episode anywhere. So it makes it beautiful. And I guess with me, that's the best thing about my character is that now he really sees himself like Hope. He wants that goal, and it's a cool thing.
You know, I just rewatched the very first episode recently, and I couldn't believe even then he called himself Terry. Yeah. Yeah, that was there from the beginning.
No, that was it. It. I still do that. I do that at home. That's me.
It bleeds into your life?
No, that's really me.
Yeah.
No. Oh, my God. Yes.
For you guys, it was cool to get to see you guys as young men fairly recently.
My favorite episodes.
That was cool. That was really a funny idea, I think, that they had. I think for us, they were so busy trying to figure out what to do with the main cast that they left a lot of stuff kind of, well, they didn't necessarily leave it up to us, but we kind of decided we didn't want to just sit there. So we started coming up with stuff, and they kind of liked that, and they started building on that a little bit. But for me, it was always just a matter of picking up the next script and saying, oh, okay, this fills in the blank a little better. And when they saw that I kind of played a weird pervert really well, they
How did they know that?
You know, they gave me some sick joke to tell, and it went over big.
I wish I could remember what the very first one was. That would be like a good...
I don't know what the very first one was, but I knew that we were on...
I remember like the reaction of everybody being like, oh my God, why is that so funny?
Did he say that? What?
Yeah.
But I knew that we were in good shape early on when they, just as a weird flashback before they actually used actors to play, you just used to use Joel and I, like... They look exactly the same, but their hair's a little dark. That's about it. But when they had us high on cocaine going to Japan.
Yes. Yeah, so, as far as changing, Not so much. No, we have a great time, and the two of us, have been buddies forever. I almost, while everyone was talking, I was thinking, I don't know if the two of them could survive without being at work, even though they don't want to be at work. But everything that's going on, and their friends are at work, and there's all these things pulling them around, and then the two of them get to hang out together all the time. I don't know.
Yeah, you got to go somewhere to be lazy.
Yeah. So you might as well get paid.
The chemistry to this show is so vital. I'm curious if that came about organically, and if your relationships in real life or anything in real life are anything like the ones we see on screen. Like, do you follow Andy Samberg around, and was everyone intimidated by Andre Braugher?
I have a room at his house I sleep in.
So weird.
Shack up every now and then.
Is he okay with that?
Really awkward.
He's not. He didn't know it's there. No, well, we're all pretty close. Like Melissa and I see a lot of each other because our kids are almost the same age, and so there's a lot of play dates going on. And Andy's so busy, and Terry, when we can, we try to hang out. We haven't been to Paris in a while. That first,
we went
year.
to Paris. Me, Joe, and Stephanie, and Chelsea, and our partners. Like season 2.
Yeah, I think it was season 2. Yeah.
Oh, it was so much fun. We went for New Year's.
That's amazing.
I remember like the first time we met on day 1 of rehearsal for the pilot. I remember going home that night and my husband asked me how it went, and I was like, weirdly, feels like I've known everyone longer than a day. Everyone gelled. Everyone was making each other laugh. There was like this ease right from day 1 that then just continued to grow. And yeah, I mean, we're all pretty tight. We talk on a regular basis. Occasional
got
dinners.
a WhatsApp chain that we all
got
jump
a WhatsApp
on
chain
You're all on
going. We got dinners when we can.
I think Allison Jones had a lot to do with that.
Well,
Don't
yes,
you
the
think
genius
so?
of Allison Jones, who
Amazing.
should get a special Emmy at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I would say, for me, it's so, I know we're going to have a Q&A, but I find when you're an actor, especially starting out, like finding a relationship to casting directors is so important, so much more important than getting an agent or a manager. And I remember when I came to LA, I was fortunate enough to have done the state, but no one really knew the state out here. And Allison Jones was such a hero to me. And this is back in like 97. And so, she was continually pushing me. And when you find that casting director that embraces you, just stick with that person because they really do make a difference. Yeah, and I can go into that later, but I just wanted to say that.
Actually, I'd love to know, just because we do have so many actors here. I mean, how are you guys at auditioning? A lot of people hate it. Some people like it. Have you ever had any of those classic terrible ones we've heard about?
Everybody's had a terrible one, I think, at least once.
What's your worst?
Well, I didn't think I was so bad. But I was sitting in this gentleman, he's no longer with us, but I won't name him. The producer of the film, I had auditioned, and the room was kind of quiet, and I was finished. I felt pretty good about it, and the producer said, I'll be honest with you. He said, we kind of need someone good looking. And I went, okay, got it. And he said, no offense, but you're one ugly At that point, I looked over, and the director and the casting director were like,
oh, my God.
He was not a terribly happy human being. But that was probably the one that kind of shook me a little bit.
Yeah,
that
I would think
shook
so.
me up pretty good. I decided I better study harder.
Those can fire you up though, like things like that. Because I had a similar one where it was after the state had ended, the sketch group I did, and many of the members were often being very successful, like Reno 911, Wet Hot American Summer would come out, and they were all very busy. And I remember going into an audition, and I had a slate before, and she said, listen, there's no improv, stick to the script. But before we start that, slate your name, and I'll ask you a couple questions. Great. So I slate my name. She's like, so Joe, you were in the state. I'm like, yep. She's like, so how does that feel like? Everyone in the state is doing so well, and you're auditioning and you're here. And inside I turned red because I actually was going through a lot of like insecurity and comparisons, of course, as you naturally would when you have that group identity. So I had to hold it together, and in my head, I'm like, well, I am not going to stick to the script now. And I got the part. And the director said, he's like, listen, your improv was so great, man. I'm so glad. It was for a movie called Beer League. And he's like, that's how I got the role. So like those moments, like take them and run with them, because you're the only guy that's going to fight for yourself, really, at the end of the day.
Wow, that's amazing.
I don't have like one bad story. I have like a lot of the stereotypical, like, can you do it more Latin? Can you, just don't wear those boots next time. And like, I don't know. But I think I like auditioning. I used to really hate it until I heard a fellow actor on a like alumni panel I did. He kind of gave this great speech about, he was like, when I walk in that room, that is my 5 minutes to do the thing I love to do. That especially when I'm in between jobs and I'm not working and I don't get to be on set or I don't get to be on stage, at least as long as I'm in that room, I get to do what I love to do. And I just do it. And what they're thinking behind the table, I can't control any of that. But I can control my experience of going in and doing my job. And that like sort of flipped it for me. But I will say that like every job I audition for that I'm like, oh my God, I am so right for this. I want this so bad. Never booked.
Really?
Every, like 90% of the jobs I've booked have been like, psh, I am not gonna get this. This is, including Brooklyn Nine-Nine, this
Really?
is, they're gonna go with somebody way better. This is a, psh, fuck it. And I guess there's something to be said for like, I get out of my own way, or maybe I get out of my head more, but every time I'm like, not gonna get this. I get it.
I've heard that a lot, actually. I don't know if it's,
Just like an energy you walk in with, you're more relaxed, I don't know. But yeah, everyone that I'm like, oh God, this is it. This is so perfect. I've never booked one of. I don't know what it feels like to book one of those.
Doesn't it make you even appreciate more that not only are you on a great show, but you're surrounded by great people?
Great people. So
Very thankful. I think we all are, for sure.
That's something we talk about a lot.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I mean, from the beginning, literally from day one, I was like, you guys are a joy to work with. You are my family. And the respect that we have for each other is I'm telling you, you can't get that. I was just like, God, you got to know, I've been to hell. I've seen it.
Yeah, we often talk about like how spoiled we are and how like it might never be this good again.
Yeah.
Well, I kicked around for roughly 40 years before this, and I was on 2 or 3 series that never quite made it. A couple of years, this, that, and the other. But I guessed it on enough shows where this kind of camaraderie existed and this kind of positive influence that I knew it was out there. I kept thinking, hang in there, don't quit, because one of these days, and sure enough, Allison Jones came up, and it does. Persistence, also the stories about everybody being maybe mistreated or feeling badly at one point. Persistence is such an important part of the ball game. The only way you can be sure that you'll never achieve what you want to achieve is by quitting. And, sometimes people make choices that I'm going to go back to where I came from and become a school teacher or something like that. That's fine if that gives you what you need. But if something is telling you to hang in there, listen to that and just do what you got to do. Hang in there. Right? Do what you got to do.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do because, you want it to happen. You want it to happen so badly. You want it to happen on your own time. And it's hard not to, like, give up on it. And I'll say that, before Brooklyn, I almost didn't get Brooklyn because besides being, struggling through adversity of humiliation, there's also, you need to keep ego in check. And so I had, some success before that where I'd felt I'd done a lot of things already. I'd done Superbad and all these movies, and I'd been on the stage in Reno, and I felt like I had put in my time. And I went into audition, and I auditioned with Stephanie, and it was a great audition, and I felt like, I did it. Like, they know what I could do. They've seen my work. And I know this is sounding a little bit, it was stubborn. It was stubborn, and I wanted, like, my due. And I'm like, well, and Andy, I'd known Andy, and I almost didn't go in. And I think about it, and I think what a lesson that is to like keep it in check. Keep it no matter how hard you work and the work that you do, and you've earned all of it, but always keep it in check. And if I had been like, look, they know what I can do, I'm out, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have met these amazing people. I wouldn't have been here meeting you guys and so many of the fans. It goes both ways. And like the work, you got to make it about the work, and like make sure that is what's keeping you happy and not any other reason.
Yeah. That's
Keep going. Don't not go in. Always go in. Go in.
I am trying to imagine this show without you. Well, I guess I get that guy who looks like you, who comes in every Halloween.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That guy's great, by the way. Yeah.
He's fantastic.
I really thought that was you playing a dual role at first.
Well, again, Jewel Bestrup is casting now, but again, Jewel found this amazing person.
I mean, they must have put out a call for a Jolo Truglio type.
That's flattering in of itself. Wow.
I am fascinated. I've been a fan of Andre Braugher since Homicide, and I just think he's playing himself in this show. Is that true? Or like, I imagine that's what he's really like. No. Okay.
Andre's like, hello.
Yeah, I was gonna say Andre's like a lot more jazzy than Holt.
Yeah.
Like there's a jazzy kind of quality to Andre, the way he talks. And
They've kind of picked up on his irreverence a little bit.
yes.
But no, he's
But no.
he's
Yeah, he's curious. He's a very curious guy.
Yes.
And Holt can be, but like he's free form. He sings in his dressing room. Yeah.
So loud.
Really loud.
My dressing room is next to his. I'll just settling in my couch like, I'm gonna get a little power nap. And then Earth, Wind, and Fire is like blasting.
Oh my God.
Like a karaoke machine.
Like a karaoke machine. And Andre is it's a beautiful voice. Beautiful
He does,
voice, so
okay.
it could be worse. Wailing at the top for like 20 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, what?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah. I think when I was pregnant, I had the balls to be like, text him and be like, Andre, can you keep it down?
And I imagine he responds, writes your full name.
Absolutely.
Sincerely, Andre.
Yeah.
But I gotta say this about Andre, because I'm an old football player. You know what I mean? I should be in jail. All right, forget football. And I'm literally like, here I am acting with this Juilliard trained major star he's got Emmys. He makes you feel so comfortable. See that? Because he could easily make you feel like, oh, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, and he never, not once, has done that. And that is what's so amazing when you look at the skill, because he's very, very humble at the same time. He like you say, he's very inquisitive. He wants to learn. He's constantly asking questions about. See, it's funny because I learned, I'm just like, hey man, I say the lines. You know what I mean? He's like, well, would that be enough time for us to get to Brooklyn to Flatbush in this scene? You're like, oh, damn. I got to go that deep. Oh, man. I'm like, we'll be there in 5 minutes. He's like, that is not a 5-minute trip. I was like, oh, my God.
Wow.
But he pushed me to make me, I go, oh, yeah, you got to think about this stuff.
Yeah.
Because this stuff informs your performance. It literally is the difference between it's or great. And I said, wow, when you get to that level of detail, man, and he's made, just like, I look at my career, and you're only as good as the people you work with, and he makes everybody better. He's a Jordan, you know what I mean?
Even Cheddar is great with him. Yes.
That bitch.
There's been a couple different Cheddars, I think.
Yeah,
I thought so. I want to take some questions from the audience. We have one from Jennifer. Wants to know how much of the show is improvised.
I feel like when I watch the episodes, it's around like 20% of every episode is like improv, right?
Yeah, I would say if that. Like I feel like like I think in the first couple of seasons we were doing that a lot. First season for sure, and then some of it stayed in, and then you realize the scripts are really tight. They're often longer than what's broadcastable anyway. So we don't want to keep the crew later than they need to be either. So it can get indulgent. So I don't think we do it as much anymore. We do a lot of alts. The writers will come in.
Yeah.
We
or things will be like thrown in at the end of the scene, and then those moments like Like if you see a joke at the very end of a scene that feels like a toss away, it probably was
is, yeah.
like ad-libbed in the moment. Yeah. But
Button McGee.
Button King.
That's what we
Yeah.
call Joe.
They used to call me Button McGee because I would always tag the end of a scene with
Every
something.
scene.
I couldn't just let the scene end.
Nope.
I had to keep adding a
And if
a
you
line
said
or
something, he was going to say something after it.
Yeah, I couldn't. I wasn't comfortable with the silence. I don't know what it was.
There's 6 seasons.
Like, there's
of
got to be
just-
more.
There's
Yeah.
6 seasons of just Joe.
Just
You know what I mean?
Just Joe adding shit to the end of scenes before the director says cut or reset.
They're really good though. No,
They're always
That's
great.
nice. They're
They're
not
really
all
good.
winners.
Most of them are. Yes.
We have a question from Doug Judy or Doug Judy. What did I mispronounce it? Sorry. It says
Greg, are you here?
AK. Well, you know, it's your handwriting. It's not my fault. Did I get that wrong or? It's from the show.
Pontiac Bandit.
Craig Robinson, right?
Yes,
oh
yes,
my
yes.
gosh. See, I know the actor's name. But it says AKA, I don't, Javin? Oh, okay, so thank you. Oh, I thought it was you. You were laughing because you got it. I'm the worst. So you're Javin, okay. Wants to know, what was the most challenging scenes or episodes for you? And loved the undercover episodes. Me too.
All the Halloween episodes are always
so
fun to do and a bitch of a shoot a little bit.
When you got married at 3 o'clock in the morning, that was because of the
yeah.
time.
Wait a
Right.
minute.
we're
What
freezing.
about? I'm sorry, Dirk. What about you running while pregnant into the cold ocean?
Yeah, that scene's like a little infamous on our set. It's like every time somebody talks about something that was it was cold. And I was pregnant and I was running a lot. And at one point, like the baby was I guess I was like 5 months along or something. But at that point, like you couldn't feel kicks yet, but you could feel like and I remember at one point being like, feels like there's a gerbil in my stomach just like going in circles. That's probably okay, right? Baby's just excited or doesn't like the cold water. And it was like Long Beach and at night and the water was freezing and and I don't know why, but I had to do it a lot. I had to run a lot.
I was thinking, they painted you gold for one episode.
Oh yeah.
That was
looked
very
horrible.
uncomfortable. I actually broke out, like all on my neck and the whole thing. And I have a sensitivity to nickel. And now the thing is that the gold was great on the makeup, but what they did was paint the clothing, and it had nickel in the clothing. And someone didn't think about that. And oh my God, my neck just rashed up. Oh, and I was like scratching, and it was so. I was just like, please let this be over, please. But you know what? People don't. I realize people don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't care if the trailer's small. They don't care if you haven't ate. It's like when they say action, you give it up. And and again, being with these guys, we know it's going to be worth it. But man, that hurt. That was really uncomfortable.
We have a question from Kevin. Is it really Kevin, or is that also it's real Kevin? Okay, I love Kevin, by the way.
Evan Jackson.
Yeah, wants to know. Oh, if all your characters got into a fist fight, who would win? Rosa, right?
Rosa.
Yeah.
Rosa would
Yep.
stab us all.
Yeah.
Or axe, or use the axe.
Yeah.
Every girl's got an axe.
Probably both. Yeah.
Kind of a funny question. Connor Evans wants to know, first of all, his dad, Thomas Evans, wants to know, do you really like yogurt as much as your character?
I love yogurt. I love it. That's what happened. They watched me eating yogurt on set. And everything I do, they robbed us all. I'm trying to tell you. Everyone on they're picking things out of your life. These writers are lazy. Because they're watching you. And I remember pulling up in my minivan one time. He's got a minivan. And all of a sudden it's in the script. You're like, what in the world? But the yogurt stayed. The yogurt it just stayed. And I enjoy it.
Why is it funny that he likes yogurt?
It is,
such?
because
just,
actually yogurt is the quintessential kind of, it's very, no, I'm telling you,
We're in the writer's room, everybody.
yeah, we are. No, but you always see, when you look at a yogurt commercial, it's always female.
Yeah.
It always is. And to them, they thought it was the funniest thing to have this big guy with a little yo plate. And,
Who decided to gender yogurt?
yeah, I know, but they did.
Feels like lady food.
You know?
So true.
And it actually sensitized Terry Jeffords. It made me, everybody's like, oh.
That actually just reminded me of Joe is actually like also a really big foodie. And every time he,
I like foods.
yes, but every time he goes to a new restaurant or like has some amazing meal and he's at work and he's telling us, we're all just like, it's just a straight up Boyle bit. It's like Joe is really nothing like Boyle except when he's talking about food.
I love good food for sure. It's the Italian in me, but all Chelsea and Andy are also gigantic foodies, and I get jealous sometimes when I hear about like places they went. I'm like, when? Where was I? I was like, what happened?
Why didn't I get a
You have
call?
my number. You have we're on the chain, the text chain. I was Boyle in that moment.
That is like our favorite cast thing I think to do is eat together. Yeah, we all enjoy food a lot.
So Connor's question was, are there any spin-offs planned for any of these characters?
Ooh,
what?
Spin-offs. I mean, what would the title even be?
be?
Yours would be Terry, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, yours would just be
I mean,
Terry.
come on, Hitchcock and Scully.
Yeah,
Come on.
Hitchcock and Scully.
That's like Friday night today. Hitchcock and Scully.
We've been saying for a while there should be like a web series that accompanies the show.
God.
That's just Hitchcock.
There
and
was a
Scully.
web series the first season.
Yeah, you guys did do a
for
little
Fox,
something, but it never.
even though it was pretty good.
I wanted like storylines, Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if there's a way to do it with those young actors who played you as well, like with flashbacks.
If they're available.
Yeah. Did you have any say in that casting, or it must have been really flattering to see who plays you?
No, we didn't.
Really?
We didn't know until we got there who was what.
They were trying to get Brad Pitt for me, but he was.
I heard that.
That'd be great.
Another
They were
Jewel
phenomenal.
They were
Bestrip.
trying for George Clooney, and they were going to just darken his hair.
Speaking of, you guys have had so many amazing guest stars over the years. You had Lin-Manuel Miranda as your perfect brother. This year, who are some of your favorites? Your whole family is awesome. You have Jimmy Smits. I mean,
So insane, you guys. Smits and Lynn were big ones for me. We've been trying to get Lynn on the show for a long time, and he was a little busy. So it finally worked out, and I thought it was so great. I love every time Craig Robinson is on the show. I love every time Dean Winters is on the show.
Frank Marshall.
Yes.
That was
Gary Marshall.
Gary Marshall.
Gary Marshall,
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm messing his name up.
That's right. That was
Gary
an
Marshall.
iconic day.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
they just re-aired that, and I just feel so bad for you. He gaslights you so bad.
It does. That was such a thrilling day for everyone. I mean, so many of us, we all grew up on his shows, and just to have an icon like that, man, who was so gracious and so happy to be there and so on point and so sharp. It was
Improv on every take.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a lesson. You're like, man, if you do it long enough and love what you do, you can do it forever. He was doing it forever. That was a really special day.
Kira Sedgwick
She's so
and
great.
Andre.
Yeah.
I love the banter between the two of them
Yeah.
that they write. It's one of my favorite things.
Some of the best insults ever. Yeah. I also love the girls who play Cagney and Lacey. Oh, they're so lovely.
You know
when they
what's
show up.
wild is one of them loves it and one of them absolutely hates to be there.
Really?
It's been that way for 6 years. When they were babies, one was like, eh, and the other was like, ah. And it's never changed. Like all the way up to like season 6 last year. The other one was like, oh, I love it. And the other one was like, we gotta get out of here. What are we doing? And she was. And it's
She
just,
really was.
But you know what? That's kids.
Yep.
And that's twins. It's so crazy.
It's billing.
But they're amazing.
It's billing.
This person didn't put their name for a question. But at the beginning of your career, what successes and mistakes did you make when putting together and sending out your resume or reel for a performance portfolio? I just love to know what successes and mistakes you made in general in your career.
Successes and mistakes. When I was first starting out, I may or may not have lied on my resume a bit, but I was very well prepared, and knew extensive knowledge about all the shows that I put on. But that was like when I was like 21 and starting out. I had I would say a mistake I made, that something I regret a little bit, even though I try not to believe in regrets. There was about 5.5 years between when I left One Life to Live and when I got Brooklyn. And I worked, but mostly they were a slow 5 years. And I wish I had, I did take class, but I wish I would have taken a writing class or a film class or some, instead of just always, I would always go back to acting class and, do that kind of thing. So I was like, well, that's what you do, and you stay sharp and you keep your muscles warm. But I wish I had like branched out and challenged myself to use that time to explore my creativity in like other ways. Because then you book a job and then you don't have that time again. So yeah. And I think instead I just kind of kept myself distracted to not be too bummed out about it, instead of like having more faith in myself and my talent and my career and like keep my confidence up and be like, oh no, I'll use this time to hopefully like expand myself and like grow. Yeah, sometimes I wish I could go back and do that.
That's great.
I would say a mistake I made early on was to not acknowledge the progress you are making. And it's kind of, talks about what I was talking about before, which is you're only like in your 20s once, you're only in your 30s, like realize what you've done, because it'll help you get through these times where you feel like nothing's happening. And I feel like early on it was like, what don't I have, as opposed to what I have. And I would say the success that was early on was finding your people. Find your people. I found my people very early on in college and was able to create with them, and we had similar interests, and we just made movies before, there was YouTube. We just made movies and showed them at our college, and we wrote together, and we watched, Trials of Life, the Attenborough, like, nature documentaries, and then we'd write a skit about that, and just find your people and create. That I was lucky enough to discover that early on. You always have to create, keep creating, because that will breed more creation. It's just how it works. So that was a big success, learning that lesson early.
I would say I spent far too many years, and when I say that, I mean I don't know how many years, because I think I figured it out, after a while. But I spent far too many years, probably in the early years, listening to the subjective voice saying, "You can't do this. You're not enough for this. You really? Who do you think you are?" That type of thing. And then I started working with someone who suggested to everyone that this is something we all need to deal with. And once I recognized, well, he's talking to me. That's me. I'm that guy. And started really working on it, I realized not just in what we do, what all of us do, but everybody on the planet, I think, could benefit a lot from being aware of that voice, so that you can identify that voice and tell it to go take a hike, because it's really not doing us any good.
Well, I absolutely love this show. I'm so glad you guys all found each other and that you went to that audition.
Me too, very much.
I cannot wait to see what you guys do next. I want to thank you guys for being a great audience. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.